Go again.
Hey mate, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good, mate. I'm good. How about yourself?
Very good. Really good. Enjoying the podcast still. So it's good. I'm happy.
Yes. Again, thanks everybody. I don't think we asked in the last already 4 episodes in. Forgot again. Like and subscribe. Now, I noticed when we first. I hope this has changed by the time people are hearing this, but almost at 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I think once you get to 1,000, that's when like you own the internet. So
Amazing.
it's we could. I don't know. At the time of recording this, we're about 50 off. So hopefully, if you're checking back that now, and I need and a complete aside, I forgot the. When you start a podcast, it's very easy. You go to a hosting site, you pay them a fee each month, you record it on any device whatsoever, Zoom, and then you upload it, you press publish, and it fires it out. It's called an RSS feed. It fires it to everybody. It takes no skill or talent whatsoever to do an audio version of this. So you may ask, why bother doing the visual version of it, which takes a lot of talent and a lot of time. Now we have Brian Fitzpatrick, who does all the graphics for Damnation, that does this. So I had to laugh when the day that we launched that Brian basically knocked together the audio versions in 20 minutes for all 3 episodes, and then it took him like 5 hours, but 5 hours to put together all the overlays, the packaging, the music coming in and out, the wee bits popping up for Lou's Brews and on the record and our names and all that kind of shenanigans, and then ultimately everyone just listened to it, and almost no one clicked through YouTube. So think of Bri, people. Go and look at our two coupons on YouTube, if only once, to make Bri's efforts worth it.
Yeah, do it.
So what we're thinking about for this week?
Well, we got a question from on the ArcTanGent Facebook group from Jack Daniel Robert. And he said, I'm enjoying the podcast, gents. I'm not sure if the info is already out there, but I'd be interested in hearing how you guys started out with your respective festivals.
Well, that's convenient, sir, because we were just about to tell you.
Perfect. Yeah, we're here to tell you how we started out.
How did you start out, James?
So, my apologies for anyone who's heard this story before, but basically, me and some friends were big music festival goers. We were in our mid-20s. We used to go to Reading every year. We used to go to Donington sometimes, and a bunch of smaller festivals like Truck Festival, Why Not Festival, and we all hated our day jobs. So I had like a serious job in clean shaven, in a suit and tie, proper job in London. And there was in our group of friends, there was like a lawyer, an accountant, furniture designer, and a couple of other things, pharmaceutical salesman. Basically, we almost without fail, we were like fucking hating the grind of daily life. Yep. We went to Reading Festival one year and just got drunk and had loads of fun, and we were like, we should start a festival. We could do it way better than this. And we were probably 26 years old, and Reading just started to feel like we were old.
Yeah.
Wish I could feel. Wish I could be 26 feeling old.
Leeds and Reading has a way of making you feel old well before you're old.
Yeah, it does. And we were like, let's just start a festival. So we're like, okay, let's start a festival. And then on the Monday morning after Reading had finished, someone sent a message around saying, was that just like a drunken plan, or are we going to do that? And then there was a bit. This is August, right, of 2006, and the first 2000 Trees took place in July of 2007, and somehow we went from not having any experience in events, music industry, or anything relevant. I didn't know anyone in bands. We weren't like a cool group of like people living in Camden who, you know, were connected to everyone. It wasn't like that. We were literally just went to festivals. I used to go to gigs all over London all the time. And we just thought, fuck it. And the first thing we did was like, let's find a place we can hold the festival. And we just sent letters out to 180 different farms in Gloucestershire. And to the place where 2000 Trees is, they were one of the 10 farmers that replied to us. Because in 2006, you couldn't email a farmer.
Right.
Nowadays, they've all got websites and stuff. But yeah, so we like drove out to 2000 Trees, met this farmer. He's a bit like, what is a music festival? And here we are.
He's thinking he's going to be the next Michael Eavis. Like,
Well, what farmers are actually thinking is it's going to be an illegal rave, and they're shitting themselves, being like,
yeah.
we don't really fancy this. So yeah, from there we were like, okay.
I mean, can you see a ballpark of what a farmer wants for his land for the weekend?
Yeah, it's I'm going to guess in those days it was probably about 10 grand,
right,
for the weekend. Yeah, it's more nowadays, but it was that's for like 2 weeks because you're not in and out. It's a sheep field and you've got to turn it into a festival site. So yeah, it's about 2 weeks we're there for. And yeah, they came to my wedding. We're like very close with them now. They're like they're part of the festival. And John and Sheila that own the farm, they're in there. Well, I don't know if they'd like me to say. I think they're in the 70s, and they you see them out there watching like hardcore bands, and everyone's like moshing and Walls of Death, and they're just stood in there nodding at the back, and it's
just
really
enjoyed
nice.
it, taking it in. Yeah. So it's not 100% financial for them. It's about they became part of the festival as well.
Yeah, and in the early years we really needed them. They like all the farm machinery and stuff that like literally dug us out of the mud on occasions.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're quite self-contained now. We go, they come and have a drink with us and a barbecue, but we're not saying to them, we need your help.
Any chance you use your bathroom?
Yeah. No, I still shower in the farmhouse actually, but they're it's weird. So we've gone in that time, which is about 17 years, I think, from being so green that we knew nothing to now being like, oh, I'm on a podcast talking about it, and people invite me to universities to talk to students about it. It's like I didn't, I just worked it out as we went along, basically, and made a load of mistakes.
And at no point, I assume a bit like myself, and what I suppose would be the best way to do this is two will tell our stories to the same sort of chronological order. It's not just one person talking for 10 minutes at a time. I take it like myself, at no point did you say, oh shit, I better go and study music management, or you've got no formal qualification in this either?
No. So our qualification was, the thing is, I think we were all quite capable people, and like we had lots of different skills that we could bring to it. Having an accountant and a lawyer and a furniture designer have all got transferable skills, and we just worked out. We've been to a lot of festivals. Let's write a list. So what do we need? Need a stage, need some fencing. You need bands, power, lighting, and if you were to sit there long enough, you could make a list of about 200 things that go into making a festival. Anyone could do it. And then I don't know why we didn't think to like, let's go and chat to some other festivals and work out what we're doing. We kind of just waded into it a bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, we blagged our way through the first 2,000 trees. But booking bands, so now again, I'm like really experienced at booking bands now, but back then I was writing letters to just my favorite bands and not even I didn't know what a booking agent was. I didn't know how the industry was put together. I thought I could just contact Ginger Wildheart and Frank Turner
and just ask them to come and play.
And Ruben, and just like, I've got a new festival, do you want to come and play? Fucking Frank, I mean, fair play to Frank Turner. He was like, yeah, all right. So his band Million Dead were breaking up, and I tried to get Million Dead, and he basically said to me, I can't, that's not going to be happening, but I'll come and play. I've got a new solo thing, I'll come and play. And yeah, that's a relationship that's still going to this day. And how he's selling out big venues.
How did the first year go?
Well, we lost a load of money, but not so much that we couldn't cover it. I mean, the day before the festival, we're like buying the bar stock on our credit cards and stuff. It wasn't great. But we all still had jobs. So this wasn't like a quit your job and go for it thing. We had jobs. Yeah. So we had credit cards and whatever else. And yeah, it was okay. It was so stressful. And so like we trained to be SIA security guards to save money on security. Like we were doing round the clock 24/7 someone would like, I'd say to my brother, right, you can go to sleep now. And he'd go to sleep for 4 hours. And I'd sit in the middle of the night on the stage to make sure no one stole the equipment. It was a bit stupid and like just all like
You know,
half-assed.
well, no, or let's say stupid, right? But the opposite of half-assed, because that's exactly the mind. So you decide you want to make a festival. He's going to train to be security guards. He's going right to farmers. I mean, it's the opposite of being half-assed. I mean, most people have a drunken idea in their field, and that's exactly when it stops being a drunken idea in their field.
Yeah.
I mean, I once had a drunken idea in the field about buying tour buses. Unfortunately, I saw that through.
That's a podcast in itself.
That's a story for another time.
Yeah.
So you lost money in the first year, but ultimately not enough to put you off.
No, and to be honest, once you've done that first year, so hard to do, so stressful. Because you've got to get a license and stuff. Like there's no license to do it. So you have to speak to the council. You have to do all the health and safety documentation. I mean, we had some embarrassing things. I remember being on a bus in London on the way home from work, and I got a phone call, and it was the council, and she said to me, "Can you send me over your health and safety risk assessments?" And I'm just like, okay. Sure. And then, so I'm like, well, not only do they not exist, I don't actually know what they would look like if they did exist. So I was like frantically writing notes as she was explaining to me, the lady from the council, what she expected to see. So we were like green and just didn't know what. I mean, I'm not sure if some councils would just said, no, you're not doing it. You guys don't know what you're doing.
Yep.
But we managed to
get
blagged our way through it. And it all happened. And, you know, we lost a little bit of money, but nobody died. Nothing bad happened. I mean, there was some really catastrophically stupid errors we made. So like, I turned up on day one and our sound guy said to me, who's bringing the backline? And backline, well, you know, Gav, but some of the listeners may not know, is like your guitar amps, your bass amp, your drum kit. And I was like, isn't that what you do? And he's like, no, we bring the PA. And it's like, okay, cool. Right. So we spend the whole weekend trying to get bands to share their own kit. There's also, you have something called a pit barrier in front of the stage, which is what the crowd lean against.
Yeah.
And we didn't get one. Right. That was a bit like, I said to Mark, where's the pit barrier? And he said, well, I thought you were getting it. It was one of those like, whose list was that on? We didn't. So that is like not great.
No. I mean, if anyone's ever held one section of Mojo Barrier, it's not just something you go and get. You don't just nip and get some Mojo Barrier. There better be a truck somewhere.
So what? I mean, I don't know how stupid I want to make myself look, but basically we put up pedestrian barrier, which is the stuff that you use to cure it. Like,
yeah,
you separate. Yeah. And that basically, needless to say, collapsed the first time there was a mosh pit. A load of people went through it and got tangled in it, and that's not great. No. So then we ended up sort of, this is really embarrassing. We built these like pig pen sort of things out whereby there could be somebody, a security guard, stood in a pen, keeping the crowd back off the barrier. It was fucking ridiculous. It was bad. So this is like, I now run two of the best known rock festivals in the UK, and that's how it started. It's a bit weird.
That's how it all came about. Right, all right. I feel slightly better.
Yeah. So good. Yeah, tell us.
I get into music, well, heavier music quite late, maybe 19 before I'd even really heard any metal music. And by the time I was 22, 23, I was properly in. You know what I mean? I'd been to the Ozfest 2001, Ozfest 2002, Download 2003, and by 2004, I was looking for your Chargers and Raging Speedhorns and Six and those. I was just more excited about those type of bands, and you were still at that stage. Well, I suppose credit to Download. They've always had some extreme music on there, but it was more Disturbed than Limp Bizkit and the infamous one always says like Bowling for Soup getting booked when I'm expecting it to be, I don't know, 1 minute silence or something like that. And I was like, right, okay. I was on that forum, the Download forum at the time. I said, look, how hard can it be? I mean, in a pub, let's forget the craziness you went writing letters to farmers. How hard can it be to get a couple of bands in a pub, a couple 100 people there, and enjoy a day of some of the bands we like? And people are like, I remember about 10 folk. Oh, I'm in. We'll commit like £500 or whatever. And that quickly, like everything in the internet, fell to shit. and I was still. I went through Christmas, and it would have been 2004 into 2005, and then by January there was very few people that were actually interested in seeing this through. But I spent Christmas thinking about nothing else but doing this, and we pulled together the team for the Stranglers that were still there, and went to it. But you know what? It's strange because with a band booking, I don't know what, because I have I had no direction in how where to go. But for whatever reason, I found my path in 2005, the start of 2005, to get these email addresses for these booking agents for your Raging Speed Hall and Sixth and Entombed and Go Rotted and some cracking bands that ended up playing that year. And we just ground out, went down to Manchester, flyered, old school paper in the hand stuff. And the word got around about. We ended up that first year. Don't get me wrong. You look back now, no stage managers. Which I've been trying to basically, a stage manager's there to make sure that everything comes on enough and the stage runs the way it's supposed to. If you don't have a stage manager, the bands do whatever the fuck they want, and ultimately just make sure that their sets catered to, and everybody else can go and piss off. So we had no stage managers. We had no stage times. I mean, the stage times weren't even that. People walking into the venue, like, where, coming from Glasgow, is like, where's the different venues and what bands are playing and what time? So really rookie stuff like that. But thankfully, despite the times being all over the place, it went well. 1,000 people showed up. It didn't lose money. I mean, it didn't make it. It was only £13 a ticket. It didn't make a lot of money, but it never lost money. But at that point, I was like, this is good. And then
more than one room.
Two stages. The stage downstairs in called used to be a place called Jelly's Rock World, which I think is a 1,000 capacity. We sold out. So upstairs was about 600, 650 maybe, and downstairs maybe done about 450. But combined, would let you do. Combined it. And I remember, like, you think back now, you get like a no barrier show, and like the song and dance that's kind of made about it, and the health and safety, this and that. I mean, we had when Entombed were playing. I mean, our extreme stage was downstairs, and it was basically like milk crates. The stage really it was built on, and yeah, this band Entombed, this like world renowned, and played every major festival, playing at knee height, really, right into the crowd. I mean, there's something about that was quite magical, but at the same time, looking back now, like the band that just showed up, like, what the fuck's going on here? I mean, it was
once they're there, though, they're playing, aren't they?
And once they're there, and it was great. It was a great first year, and I after that was hooked. I would definitely recommend if you're going to get into this line of work, do not make Damnation 2005 the first show you ever promote, and definitely do not make 2003s, 2006 or the first show. I mean, get yourself some experience, because there was stuff. I mean, even your story there, we're laughing about it. There is stuff that could catch you out, and then you'd never do this again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, sounds like yours was successful though, to sell out, and that's not easy. And also that's some proper bands. Entombed are like absolute legends of that scene, I mean, aren't they?
And do you know what? There's something about this do it almost 20 years later into it, and you think, oh, you know, well done you pulling that off and getting A bands. But then you see, unfortunately, some new startups, some of them we might even mention, and they can still ultimately get those type of bands too. So there isn't really a protection to those bands that should be there. I mean, there should be more balances and checks. Now, okay, we were lucky. I've paid every band that ever played Damnation. There's never been a penny held back. But clearly these same bands have been bumped elsewhere. So maybe that access that I got might not be the best route for some of those bands that have ultimately paid the price elsewhere. But it was some decent bands. We came, we built it, and then that was like great. And year two was at Jellies again. But it was a Sunday, and I think we could only start later. And then we wanted to grow it, and there was nothing in Manchester. Went to Leeds, became what it is now before we moved eventually back to Manchester. But a lot of mistakes along the way. But for yourself, when was it that you felt like you'd? Do you ever feel like you've cracked it? Do you ever feel like you've nailed it, or is it always a learning experience?
I don't know. I mean, it's a pretty difficult industry, I think, and I mean, I do feel like we are. It's hard not to sound big-headed, but I do feel like we are good at what we do, and I know how to run a festival. The only thing that scares me on any given year is selling enough tickets to make the budget work, because that's the stress. But I think, you know, it wasn't that long before we were like properly booking real, like proper bands. You know, like I don't know, 80s Matchbox, Being on Disaster, and Art Brut and stuff. That a couple of years later at 2000 Trees, and we were really we really had it cracked. But
Yeah.
the weird thing about starting 2000 Trees is because I'm a bit like I'm like some sort of megalomaniac dictator nowadays about the lineup. Like, no, basically, if I ask your opinion on the lineup, then I listen to it. But I'm not really interested in your opinion unless I have asked for it.
Yeah.
I know that makes me sound like an asshole, but everyone's got an opinion, right?
Yeah.
But when we started at Trees, it was a bit like I was taking everyone's opinion.
Yeah.
And we all liked different sort of music. So 2000 Trees did not start as a rock festival. It started as a everything festival.
Yeah.
And because I like rock music, there was more rock bands, but there were also folk bands and like more poppy bands. And it was all a bit incoherent.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this festival? So I started to feel like we've cracked it about like 3 or so years later, when we had a defined genre and people started to talk about us as like, this is a serious, I'm into rock music, I want to go to 2000 Trees. And that's when you feel like, yeah, we've kind of stepped over
that threshold.
We've gone from being like, we don't know what we're doing. And like all my friends used to say to me, why are you doing this? This isn't, you're never going to be your job. Loads of people and family. I think my dad famously said, you're going to lose all your friends and all your money. And I've only got some of my friends and some of my money. So he's wrong.
That's the kind of support you need. Not that this person ever said to me was much of a friend, but I remember talking about it starting. Everybody, I mean, that's just human nature. People like to shit in other people that are trying to achieve things, even if they don't even understand what they're trying to achieve. And I remember the guy going, "Why don't you call it his job Shite Fest? It will never happen." And I was like kicking to myself, and if I knew where that prick was now, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you should find him.
People have that, so I mean, it's funny you saying about the musical direction as well, because we were like at the start, and it was a wee bit designed by committee, and Damnation really wasn't. Although I was spearheading the charge from the start, it wasn't mine. It was just I happened to be the one directing it, and then people sort of splintered off as went along, and then it just became mine. I mean, albeit it didn't take long, 3 or 4 years maybe, but at the start we put an offer in for Saxon. I mean, but that's that. Like that would. There is no way you couldn't get Saxon on Damnation now for free. If they came in, says no. You couldn't go on Damnation if Saxon were free. And back then it was just like we're just scrambling a bit, trying to get different thing to make it. I don't know. Back then it was just about making it legitimate. It was about showing that we were actually trying to do something and try and get fans through the door. And people, when they were part of the team, thought that Saxon was a good idea, even if I didn't like that type of music. So. It's funny that that you say even with the direction of the folk music and then as the years go on, I suppose the fan base you see yourself, don't you? What bands sell the tickets? What genres of music are working? What genres are getting swallowed up by others? I mean, when we tried the whole post rock thing in 2008 and 2009, that was quite radical back then. I mean, no one was doing that at all. Like having a "This Will Destroy You" in Shells and with Carcass and My Dying Bride. Whereas now it's looked upon as quite, well, you'd expect that. There's a lot of events that do that. So it's fun. But if we'd done that the first time in the post rock stages sat completely empty, that would have died off very quickly, whether I like rock or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's always those little experiments that you do, I think, and you see where it goes, and then you might book more of that. I mean, maybe we'll talk about this on another podcast one day about how, because the genres, the music is fluid for me. Like from year to year, it is changing. But yeah, I don't know. So when did you think Damnation might be a thing that could be your full-time job? Because that's a recent thing for you, isn't it?
It's a recent thing that happened. 2008 went a bit crazy because we managed to get Carcass, which I think we've spoken about previously, and then so we've done, was it 4,000 tickets? Now 4,000 tickets, even back then when tickets were cheap, you're starting to talk about considerable turnover, if not even profit, still turnover. The numbers are getting like, well, let's say it's a couple of $100,000. A couple $100,000's exciting money to be dealing with. Even if it costs you a couple of $100,000 to put it on and you ultimately left with zero, it's still like, right, okay, there's legs in this. Unfortunately, those legs were quickly taken away in 2009 by Life Agony when we sold no tickets and lost. So the first year Damnation ever lost money was 2009. And I mean, I'm blaming Life Agony, but that wasn't the case. They just never people who came in 2008, it wasn't well organised despite the amount of people who came. So a lot of people like, oh, it was all over the place. Bands were clashing. All the bands were clashing because I was terrified of health and safety. So you had Carcass clashing with Pitch Shifter, clashing with Cathedral. I mean, imagine fucking clashing those bands now. But at the same time, I'm like, there's no way you can have a room that Cathedral in with 600 people and 800 trying to get in. That's the worst case scenario. So there was mistakes we made then because we're still very green with it as well. And I think a lot of people felt, oh, you know what? It was great to see Carcass, but I don't know if I could be asking that festival again. It was a wee bit of a shit show. And we lost. We went for a best part of 4,000 people there to like 1,500 the following year on the same sort of budget. So we lost money that year. And then it was a rebuilding job. And in 2010 with Dillinger Escape Plan. And then 2011 with Devin Townsend. And it's really took until 13, 14 again with Bolt Throw until we were right back up and running. So it was maybe in 2014, 15, I thought, right, okay, again, this could be something. And my background in journalism, I was a journalist for the whole time, and I remember it would have been maybe 2017, 18, that I went to my editor and said, look, I think it's going to be around the redundancies. I'm going to put in for it. I've got this thing, my festival at the side. I'm going to go and do that. And she basically said to me, look, I've already went for the redundancy as well, and I'm going to get it. And I think they're looking at you to take over the editor's job. So I was a bit like, and to be fair, that was a dream. I mean, I always wanted my journalist, never mind being an editor of a daily newspaper. So I jumped at that, and then my entire focus, although Damnation still worked away successfully, and my entire focus became the editor of being a daily newspaper. Done that for 4 years till I got to 40, and then the pandemic happened, and I thought, right, it's now or never. I'm going to be doing this now, this journalism, which that is an industry that's gone down the other side, and especially print. And I thought I'm going to be like on a dying ship here, watching this job that I love become something I hate, or I can take the step now and just go for it. And we went for it, and that was it. So it was only getting into the first year. I mean, we had that year in the arena, so it was only really last year properly as a full year that it was the first time that I'd done it as my full-time job, which ironically was only the second time I ever lost money.
Fuck. Yeah, fuck. Stressful times.
So when did you give up? When did you say, right, this is it, I'm all in?
Well, in 2011. So that was when so basically so there were 6 of us that run 2000 Trees, and me and Simon were the ones that really hated our jobs and wanted to quit. And basically we made the jump at that. We were like, let's start ArcTanGent, but if we're gonna start a second festival, we need to quit our jobs and let's just go for it and see what happens. So yeah, 2011, and then the first ArcTanGent was in 2013, and that was a way more. I mean, were you at year one? Yeah, of course you were, because we did a Damnation stage, didn't we? That was a much more like, we'd done quite a few years of 2000 Trees at that point, so we knew what we were doing. I don't mean it was perfect, because it's still a new farm and done on an absolute shoestring budget. Yeah. With, I don't know how many people, I can't really remember, about 5,000, 3,000 to 5,000. But we kind of had an idea of what our brand was and what we wanted it to be and what sort of music it was. It wasn't like 2000 Trees where we were just randomly flailing about, not knowing anything.
Yeah.
I think people had a great time at that first ArcTanGent. I'm really proud of it. It's a way better festival now, but it was good, I thought. So,
and yeah. Did you say previously it took a few years for that to get up into profit as well? So you took the plunge, and then you're still like a new festival again, especially that size. You're probably going to have to swallow some losses.
So ArcTanGent kind of just about wiped its feet for the first few years. So we didn't make big losses. We weren't really taking any money out of the business. So 2000 Trees was paying us to live, and then ArcTanGent was just. I think it was like year 6 or 7 before we made any decent money at ArcTanGent. And that's why when people moan about, I mean, why have you booked Devin Townsend? Oh, can't we have Battles back? It's like that. You can't have an outdoor festival that's that small. It's the finances don't stack up. There is no, I don't think people really think about it, but there is no power or water or lighting or anything
on that site
that exists in that field. They can obviously see the staging, but you can't see the 15 generators that have got a team of electricians fueling them and
Yeah.
powering all the food traders. And it's just all the stuff that you take for granted in your home, like turning a tap on, doesn't exist in a field. So it's super expensive. If I'm ever asked for advice, I'm always like, well, you're going to need to be way north of 5,000 people to make money outdoors.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, in talking about, so here we are now, 2024. I don't really want to get into the whole let's bash these other events that didn't make it, because I'm sure a lot of them were done with good intentions. And maybe, you know what, see if they cancelled a festival and kept your money, then maybe we should bash them, because that's just bang order. But they did happen, yeah. Temples, Heavy Scotland being two examples of indoor festivals. Manorfest and Dominion, more recent examples, are outdoor festivals. They all collapsed. As far as I'm aware, there was a lot of people that were kind of stung with it. I mean, especially even if they were very honest and got all the money back to the ticket buyer, your hotels and your transport and your non-refundable flights and etc., people end up out of pocket for it. And the confidence in that market, which is basically our scene, because ultimately we're not Download or Glastonbury. So these are the people that go to our working events as well, collapsed a bit. Which makes me wonder, if you or I were trying to do an ArcTanGent Trees and a Damnation right here, right now in 2024, do you think it would even be possible?
Well, I mean, maybe not. I think if you do something that is totally new, my advice to someone starting a new festival is what are you trying to do? If you're just trying to copy that festival over there, then forget it. It's got to be something different. And I really respect what you were saying about when we were talking about Machine Head the other day, and like, you know, you don't want to book something that two other big festivals in the UK are already doing. And I really respect that, because basically Damnation has got its thing and ArcTanGent has its thing, and that's why they're successful. And basically starting up some generic bullshit indie rock festival that is just like all the others is not going to be successful. And starting up, there's a lot of these underground metal festivals popping up, aren't there? And I mean,
yeah, they have done. I mean, I'm quite supportive of them.
yeah, you're way nicer than I am. I'm always like, stop fucking copying me. You're crowd surfing at the festival, high fiving the organizer.
I'm putting the poster out. It's like, come on, guys, we're going to this fucking event. It's going to be Damnation in a few years' time and lose me 10 grand. Let's go.
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of like, look, I don't own the bands. I've got to be very careful not sounding like a total asshole here, but there are a bunch of festivals that I think are inspired by ArcTanGent and 2000 Trees that exist in the UK. They're all indoors. They're not outdoor festivals. And some of those festivals would no doubt admit that they are. But we're all then competing. It's competing over the same bands, competing over the same money in people's wallets. People can only go to so many things. I don't know. It's all a bit saturated. I think the market.
Yeah, I mean that's I suppose my point as well. Take away just the loss of confidence in new events coming through after the number that have cancelled, but you've also got the fact that when Damnation started, there was Download. I wasn't even aware of Bloodstock until afterwards. So in my head, I don't know if it had made any difference really, because I was a bit like, I want to do this and I'm just going to go and do it. The fact that I wasn't aware of what was happening else in the UK probably wouldn't have played a part, but behind the scenes it would have, because even at a small level there wasn't a lot of Damnation sort of like 1,000 capacity metal events bringing in your. I mean, even right now when you're talking these small like all dayers or weekenders, they still don't have the lineup quite as punchy as that very first Damnation. Yeah. Being back in Speed Hall was still a name, Sixth or a name, Entombed have always been a name. It was like you were getting for £13, there's a lot there to like, and it's probably not that surprising we did manage to attract 1,000 people even to the first event. But try to do it now with so much going on when you've also got a 2000 Trees and an ArcTanGent, and then your Damnation, Incineration, Outbreak, Radar. I mean, just it's a lot to try and it's getting absorbed, and everybody now try to get exclusives because of that competition, and it's just like it'd be difficult to go out there and do it. And I would never, you never want to be that old guy that goes, "Oh, don't do it." My advice would be, "Don't do it." My advice would be, "Don't do it, young man." You know what I mean, but at the same time, you'd be like, at least accept there's a real risk you could lose money. You know what I mean,
Yeah.
If you do it, if you're going to go out there, go out swinging and make sure you've got something special to offer. You know what I mean, it's like I think the guy who does the Fortress Festival, he's came out swinging. He's about right, okay, to make any mark in this with black metal festivals everywhere. I need to come out with my black braids and fucking rules in the throne room and Panopticon and that, like all these bands that Damnation would even begin after. And then I need to make sure I've got them, so there's no choice. You're a black metal fan, you need to get to Fortress Fest. So I fair play to him, but that's also a risk. I mean,
fucking hell, that is a risk. So I really respect that because he has done something different. Great. Yeah. It's like obviously there's a crossover with Damnation, but he's done something different, hasn't he? He's basically gone. I mean, as I understand it, it's pretty much exclusively black metal.
He's nailed his call to the mast.
It's outdoors, right?
I think it's still indoors. Although there is a bunch of wee outdoory ones that I think kicking about England as well. But this is one that's like, right, okay, we've got things like 1800 capacity, like trying to sell 1800 capacity exclusively black metal fans in the UK. Fuck me, that's not an easy sell. But if your lineup's that strong, you can drag 1800 people to Scarborough, then well, you deserve credit. Like, well done to you. I'm hoping to get down again. It's one of these ones that, like, I do look at these events like, fuck, from a fan point of view, the more the merrier for me. Because I'll go and attend them and enjoy them. But you need to. Oh, there goes half my wall.
So for anyone not watching on YouTube, Gavin's very nicely created wall behind him has just fallen down.
So more reason to go and check out Bry's good work on YouTube. hope none of that is broken. So you wrap that one up then.
Yeah. So I mean, I think in conclusion, it's pretty hard to start a festival. I think you sounded like you did it a lot better job than I did, albeit outdoors being a lot more complicated.
So I feel that now, because I've got that, we do that half and half thing. It's like, because now I do deal with portaloos and water points and Harris fencing and huge gazebos that cost like $6.5 to put a tent. I'm like fuck, how can it be $6.5 for a tent? You know what I mean? For one day hire. So I feel like I've got a wee bit of that. I get a taste of the outside life with having to build an entire stage and power it in a field as well. So that was credit to you for getting that off the bat. That was great. I mean, right to the farmers.
Would you start? I know you're trying to wrap it up, and I'm asking you more questions. Would you ever look at starting something else? Would you ever do something new?
It's difficult to say, isn't it? I mean, I always said I'd never leave Leeds. You know what I mean? I felt like I got my own wee festival doing its own thing, and like we just kind of cracked that code, and then next thing you know, I'm in an arena. So I wouldn't say absolutely not, but it would need to be. I mean, because I understand the pitfalls now. I mean, I understand why it's difficult for other events to go right all the way to a sonosphere, trying to compete in an island with download and just nobody would matter. So it would need to be something. And also, I don't have my dream would be I'd love to do like a. Because my favourite bands are the types of the Manchester Orchestra, the National, post rock, something that'd be completely different away from Damnation, and maybe that was someone else, but not just me, just one away, because there's too much to be done with Damnation to begin with, and that level of competition right off the bat. I mean, think of the database and the fan base and everything you guys had, even coming for Trees to start ArcTanGent, and the graft you guys had to get ArcTanGent to where that is. I mean, and I think nowadays that'd be even more tough.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think ultimately separating people from their hard-earned money is difficult. You've got to have a really great thing they want to go to.
Yeah. Are you thinking about, because you do a wee bit of local promoting though, don't you, with Miles in Bristol?
Yeah, so that's totally different. That feels like a totally different thing. Miles is the expert in that. I've got some really good band contacts, and yeah, we put on Thrice last week and got a bunch of great shows coming up. But that's a sideline for me, which I want to keep doing.
Yeah.
But I mean, punch me in the face if I ever mention doing a new festival. I do not want to ever do that. It's so stressful. For year one is horrible. There's all these unknowns. So many unknowns.
That type of promoting too, because I've obviously done the same thing as you're doing in Bristol. I've done that in Glasgow, and it's such a different world, because you go from this event where you're in total control, and it is this curated band by band fly-ins, exclusives, competing with our festivals. You're deciding where every last band goes and how long they play for, and then ultimately the other version of promoting is a package lands in you and you get it if you pay the right price, and then ultimately it's already wrapped in a bow with the support and how long people are going to play for and when doors should be right into how much the ticket price should be. You know what I mean? It's like you don't even get control of that. Or well, you need to have a conversation ultimately with the management agent. And I always found that level of promoting kind of weird. Because it didn't feel like promoting. It just felt like you were the guy who was willing to pay the $4,000 for that band to play in Glasgow.
And it's the world's easiest job if you get the right band as well. Like I've done Thrice twice in Bristol, and they've sold out like both times. Like they, co-headline with Code and Cambria sold like 2,000 something tickets. The one the other night on their own sold over, getting on for 1,500 tickets. Sold out both times. So everyone makes money when that happens. The band make money and the promoter. And you're like, fucking hell, why is it sold out? Is it because I'm a great promoter? No. It's because people really love Thrice, right, in Bristol.
Yeah.
So obviously there is another side of promoting, which is like all the bands that don't make money.
Yes. And in relationships, you have to build up. We touched that with agents. You need to make the work. You need to make that hard work and have that insight. Like a friend Johnny Almond in Glasgow. I mean, he had the insight to get into Sleep Token very early. He never knew it was going to be the Hydro 3 or 4 years later. Maybe he's got 5 or 6 of those bands where he's hoping are going to become Sleep Token, and one does. And then it's trying to hold on to those relationships. So, not to put those promoters down, but just that contrast of doing something like a festival to being your regional promoter is it's quite tough. Now, James, I'm going to ask you, because this cold is killing me, and I can feel myself sniffling away here, and I'm sorry to the listeners if that's came through. So you're on the ad read today, big man. It's all yours.
Amazing. When you say read, you mean read it out of my head, don't you?
Yes. Yeah, well, that's what I've done for every episode. So.
But you're the pro here, mate. Yeah. So we are sponsored by Lou's Brews. He is an absolute legend. He's basically helped us to launch this podcast, and you can go to his website and taste some of his lovely hot sauces. We've had an ArcTanGent one. There is a Damnation one. I've currently got the Bosque one in my fridge. There's a bunch of them. There is a code if you go to his website that will get you money off, and Gav's going to tell you what that code is.
It's pod15 is the code. lousbrews.co.uk. Check the guy out. And to wrap this up, we'll keep the on the record bit short because I am slowly dying into my chair here now. So tell me, what have you got for listeners this week? Because what's been quite positive is people are going away and listen to these bands. I noticed people talk about Fange and Slift. And unfortunately, not my bands. I mean, I'm the guy with a good taste here. I mean, nobody's mentioned Hexes, but no, it's Fange and Slift are the two people are away to check out.
Amazing. Well, go and check out Gav's bands. But whatever he comes up with now, check it out. I'm going to give you the new album from Ishan, who is the frontman from Emperor. For those people who don't know, so Emperor are like proper gods of black metal, one of the originals. Ishan has had quite an interesting solo career of like much more progressive and less heavy music. His new album is fucking amazing. It's fire. It's like, this is not me like trying to come up with a band who are playing ArcTanGent. This is me telling you the best album of this year so far is Ishan's album. It's basically progressive black metal, super catchy, super mad, super all over the place. He's got the kitchen sink and he has lobbed it at the recording studio, and it's got everything in it, fucking orchestras, the lot. There is literally no weak moment in it. Now, progressive stuff like that is inherently cheesy. So if you want to stand there at the back of the crowd laughing at Opeth and Leprous and stuff, you can if you want to, but fuck you. Basically, this album is amazing. Please go and listen to it. If you think you might not like it, just have a listen. Would be my advice.
You know, because obviously you're talking about this. Why you mentioned ArcTanGent? Because I'm thinking in my head that's got nothing to do with it. But he's actually playing this year.
Yeah,
he's playing this year, of course.
Main stage, mate. Main stage.
And the thing, I picked a band right because I'm in my Jillian Carter mode and I'm away doing my screamo, not understanding that they're also playing ArcTanGent. Frail body.
Great.
Mate, fucking me. No, they've got new music coming, but the one I would recommend is a 2019 album, A Brief Memoriam. And there's a song in it called Your Death Makes Me Wish Heaven Was Real. And it's just, there's something about this music that's just, there's everything's to the forefront. It's like there's nothing left behind. It's just that balls to the wall, pure emotion, still done with enough melody. Nothing, but just it's something about heavy music when it's done with a melody, it makes it heavier. You know what I mean? And I get the impression, without reading the backstory of this band, I take it someone in the family was lost, and this must be their album to release that energy. But it's fantastic. I only found out afterwards that we were playing ArcTanGent, so another absolute blinding booking by yourself. How did that come about? Was that one of the ones that it just landed in your lap, or was that a band that you were into?
Well, I actually think Miles, who sort of I use as like a consultant on the ArcTanGent lineup, he mentioned them to me. But it's the booking agent I know as well, and yeah, I had to listen to it, and I've never fully gone in on an album of theirs, but had a listen, and it seemed perfect. People like that kind of like, I mean, I don't even know what you call it.
It's right. I'm mixed up.
Screamo.
I mixed up the last time because it's meant to be emo violence, and I said power violence. I mean, emo violence is actually screamo. It's screamo, isn't it? It's like before they came up with that term. So that's absolutely fantastic.
And they've got a new album dropping, I think, this month.
They do. I notice the singles keep dropping in, so I'm waiting for this. But that the Brief Memoriam is well worth a listen, especially if you did check out Gillian Carter for the previous podcast. Like it, if you like Gillian Carter, you will definitely like Frail Body. So and also I notice that people are getting really into the fact that you're telling what stages bands are playing. So do you know what stage Frail Body are playing?
Yeah, PX3. So basically this year at ArcTanGent, the fourth stage of PX3, in the daytime and early evening, it's just full of fucking heavy, filthy, horrible shit. And then in the evening, it's like electronic that clashes with the main stage. But yeah,
good.
It's around all the heavy bands, so same stage as Fange.
Into it, brilliant. Listen, again, apologies, guys, if you've heard me sniffling that. I'm struggling here, but I've enjoyed doing this one. Speak to you next week, big chat.